Hey, welcome to a brand new edition to the Rundown with Ramon. If you're watching this on demand on our podcast, thanks for being here so you don't miss out. Right now, go to zoneofgenius.com, zoneofgenius.com, and be sure to sign up for our email list so you don't miss out. Today, we have an amazing episode, but I'm going to give a full confession to you. This is an episode that I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what we're going to cover. I had a choice today. I could take a bit more time and get a bit more perfection, a bit more prepared, a bit more polished, a bit more of this and that and the other. But I said to myself, instead of doing that, since it's 5 minutes after, and when I go the live show, I like to do it at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I said, instead of doing that, why don't I just go live and see what happens? And here's the thing about saying just going live and seeing what happens. Does that mean I'm unprepared? Does that mean the show is not going to be good? No, it doesn't mean that. Does that mean I'm not prepared for you? Does that mean I'm ready for you? No, it doesn't mean that. Does that mean I'm giving you a more inferior show? No, it doesn't mean that. But that means we have a choice. I had a choice to make today. And my choice was I can wait and make it perfect. I can wait and make it the best show or a perfect show, or I can just hit live and share. And here's the thing about doing things like that. It's not hanky-panky. It's not luck. It's not that it's going to be unprepared. Since by God's grace, I have so much experience doing this, I know it's still going to be good, but it may not be the perfect way I want it done. Welcome to a brand new edition of the Rundown with Ramon. Ayanna, thanks for being here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Ayanna, it's so good to see you, and I'm so glad I get to see you more because I'm following you more and seeing how lovely you play the piano and more, getting to see more of what you do, and it's amazing. Matt McHale, thanks for being here today, the AI extraordinaire expert. Glad you're here, Matt. Thanks for being here on a brand new edition of the Rundown with Ramon. Glad you're here today. So we have an amazing show coming up. What's going to come up the next few seconds? Let me get that little lower third, the better one done. There we go. I did that little newer lower third. I think it looks a little better. I'd like your vote and let me know what you think. But I want to dive into a few things today. Today we're going to talk about just what's on the what I call evergreen headlines. Yes, AI is in the news. Companies are having more revenue. OpenAI and Google are jousting for market share and brand share and dominance to stay relevant. Meta is doing more and more and more with AI as well. All these big brands, and job cuts are happening. GM cut 1,700 jobs in a third round of layoffs. So we're going to dive into all those things. But before we do that, I want to remind you all, make sure you're secure. Our friends at Bitdefender talk about this quite a bit and remind us when we go home at night, we lock the doors of our house. Don't you lock the doors of our house. Click, click. When you leave your car, you lock your car, beep, beep. So you secure the things that are valuable to you. You make sure your purse is nearby. You make sure your wallet's safe in your pocket. Make sure your children are okay. You hold their hands when you cross the street. But is your business secure? And our friends at Bitdefender want to remind us small business security is important. Two-factor authentication is important. Phishing scams are on the rise. Deep fakes are on the rise. Malware is on the rise. Ransomware is on the rise. All these things are on the rise. But if we're cautious, if we're secure as we can be, if we're training our team, if we're training our employees, if we're being careful what we click if we look before we click, we can be more secure. If our backups are in place, backups are ready, we're hardening our networks, making sure that they're as secure as can be. We don't have the default admin password, things like that. We can be more secure. Before we dive into the show, check out this 39-second video from Bitdefender, and then we'll continue on with the Rundown with Ramon. 39 seconds.
It starts with something small. An email, a phone call, a fake invoice. It looks real. It sounds urgent. One wrong move, and your business pays the price. Small businesses are easy targets for cyber criminals. With Bitdefender, they lose every time. Enjoy unstoppable security and real peace of mind so you can fight for success, not against cyber threats. Real-time protection, zero stress. Get Bitdefender today.
All right, welcome back to the Rundown with Ramon. Welcome back. Listen, Matt McHale, I just saw your invite to a brand new network happenstance. What's that about? I'm going to check that out, Matthew, or Matt, you can put it in the chat, happenstance, and I'll talk about it live right now. Good morning to Kim Wyckoff, event producer extraordinaire. Glad you're here. And one of my favorite humans in the world. Well, See, now I got to say, Ian is my favorite human, Matt my favorite human, Kim, but I really like I'm kind of low key, like my favorite human in the world. One of them, Alexandria Nicole. Good morning, Alexandria. It was so good to have you join me yesterday, Alexandria, with Claude Silver, Chief Heart Officer of Vayner Media. Her new book out, Be Yourself at Work. Alexandria Nicole and two other friends got to join me in interviewing Claude Silver. And so I'm so happy for her and her book. She works for Gary Vaynerchuk at VaynerX. So that was that. Let's move on to today's show and a few things I wanted to address, a few things I wanted to bring out today. One, I just had a call with my pastor. And usually I'm not too, well, I am pretty vulnerable about things going on. But I just had a call with my pastor because I was going through some challenges, going through some struggles, going through some frustrations in my life. And the bottom line thing that he encouraged me today and said, he said, oftentimes, Ramon, those who are called to X, that's oftentimes the thing they struggle with. So for example, you're called to inspire others to greatness. This is what the calling you have, and everybody's not called to do that, but you're called to inspire others to greatness. Oftentimes, that's the very thing that you struggle with. That's the very thing that may be difficult for you. Ironically, the teacher that is teaching kids math and academia right now and academics, maybe she struggled with that earlier in her life, or she still has to have her edge. You take a look at someone like David Goggins, a 3-time, 4-time Special Forces warrior. He struggled with how to swim. He had to overcome that. So my point being, oftentimes the things we struggle with, Matt, oftentimes these things we struggle with, Alexandria, oftentimes the places we want to be, Kim, oftentimes what we're trying to get at, Diana, that is the most difficult part for us, ironically. Those of you who read the Bible, think of the prophets, think of the judges in the Old Testament. Oftentimes they did incredible things, but they struggled with some of those very things they were trying to, or they were called to do, because they were human. We are human. So he encouraged me today because I struggle with things. I struggle with, in my mind, many things of feeling inferiority, feeling in the imposter syndrome, a word I don't like to use so much because it sounds so academic and so howdy-towdy, but it's a real thing. So my point today, what are you called to do? And I believe that everybody does have a calling in some big or small way. Everybody does have it. But my encouragement to you today is, what are you called to do? That's the question of the day. And what you're called to do, what you know in your soul is who you are. And again, I'm saying those who maybe everybody doesn't have a calling. I don't know. But I know for me, there's one or two things that I believe that I'm innately gifted with to bring to the world, to bring beyond business, beyond the marketplace, but to bring to the world, that I'm innately gifted and called to do that. And guess what? Those are the very things in the darkness and the quietness of my home that I struggle with. Self-doubt, fear, confusion, all the things that I talk to you all about, that I stand on stage about. At times, I go through big, deep challenges with that. It's not a happy thing to confess, not a happy thing to say, not something I want to talk about publicly, as it were, but this is the fact. This is the truth of the matter. And my question to you is, what are the things that you're called to do, but that you're struggling with? And do you have the capability? Do you have the ability to push through and to continue on, to bumble along, even as you go forth, to push through, to bumble along, and to make sure that you can still push through and make an impact? And so you're not one who's stopping in the fight, who's on the sidelines. This is the question of the day today. We'll go on to some news of the day. Again, thanks for being here on The Rundown with Ramon. Alexandria Nicole, I want to read this. Yes, thank you, Alexandria. It was such a blessing. Thank you, Ramon, for the opportunity. Welcome. I appreciate you. Oh, I didn't know you were going to say this, and how you show up in excellence with your zone of genius. Thank you, Alexandria. Again, when I put these comments up, you don't always read the full comment before you put it up. But thank you, Alexandria. I needed to hear that today in light of what I just shared. Thank you for being a part of it. I appreciate it. And look for me to do more and more and more of those as I explore and figure out what's going on in my world. Matt McHale talks about, yes, love this. Happenstance is an AI-powered networking search tool. Check it out. Because you said it, Matt, I'll check it out. Not sure I'm going to stay signed up to it because I got a lot of tools and things and invites and Nextdoor and all these kind of things. But since you recommended it, I'll check it out and at least see what it is. And I don't know if I'll stay or not, but at least we'll click the button and check it out because you recommended it. I trust your judgment. A lot of things going on today. Just looking at the headlines from Yahoo News or from LinkedIn News, Google parent Alphabet reports record $100 billion in revenue. Now, why do I bring out the big company things on the Rundown with Ramon, which is supposed to be a show for entrepreneurship and small business? Here's why I do that, because I believe that we can learn even from the bigger brands. We can learn from them. We can see what they're doing. So Google has record profits or record income, $100 billion. Google parent Alphabet reported its highest ever quarterly revenue, surpassing $100 billion for the first time, thanks to double-digit growth across every major part of its business. CEO Sundar Pichai said the tech giant's revenue grew 16% year over year, above the 13% Wall Street analysts expected, while the company's cloud business expanded by 34%. Pichai noted strong momentum from the company's artificial intelligence division, reporting that Google's Gemini app now has more than 650 million monthly active users. Why is that important? Watching Google is important. It does not want to be the Kodak. It does not want to be the Polaroid. It does not want to be a laggard company, a Kmart. It doesn't want to be these companies. It wants to be a company that's built to last. And how can Google do this? Well, Google, of course, is a huge, huge company. Its business interests are very complex, much bigger than any of ours. But let's think about what Google's about. Google has its search engine, a utility, a must-have tool to search and find things across the web. They curate and bring us the best of the best. That's where Google's dominant force is at. And then how are they monetizing this? Because they have advertisers who say, listen, when people search, we'll make sure you get more visibility if you pay us. So if they do this right, this will go right. If this goes right, that goes right. So that's going up and up and up and up. And then they're not slowing down with the growth of AI for the public, because AI has been around for a while, but as we're using the last year or two, now Google is going to dominate and stay in that because they're making money. They have the profit. They have the numbers. They're willing to experiment. They're willing to fail. So Google is dominating in that. They're not letting that go in the AI race. They're winning there too. They're not afraid to go into new things and see what works because they're willing to fail. They're willing to experiment small, experiment slow, as my friends at Zoho remind me. So you have then the advertising business growing. You have the search business growing, all that integrated into AI growing. And then you have, of course, the cloud business. As everything becomes online on the cloud, think of companies like Netflix, think of Robinhood, think of all these brands, all these apps, QuickBooks, all these services we use, all of them are in the cloud somewhere, and most of them are dominated by one of the big four vendors, AWS, Google, Microsoft, or two or three or four others out there. So what does this mean for Alexandria? What does this mean for Ayanna? What does this mean for Matt? What does this mean for those who are joining us today for Kim and others? I'm trying to see this in my own business. What are the 2 or 3 things, not 100, that I do very, very well, that I can dominate in my little space, in my celebrity CEO, being dominant in my sphere of business? What are the things that I can do? And my gift on stage to inspire audiences, to connect with audiences live and in person at big events. How can I do that and do more of that? How can I leverage that and maximize everything I can out of that part of my business? Number 2, my connectivity, my trust with brand sponsors, Dell, Microsoft, AT&T, Verizon, all these companies. Doesn't mean I work with all of them, but I have worked with all of them. I have relationships with them, and it's my job to figure out what more can we do together. So that's number 2. The brand sponsors, is how to leverage that, because that goes to here. As my audience grows, my email list, my social, they will want to work with me more. So that works there. The brand sponsorships. Then I think the community I have, how can I serve them more? How can I bring them together under my umbrella more and add more assets, more programming, more insight to them, and or work with others to do that? I've talked to my friend Paulina Lopez, Business of We. If you don't know it, look up Paulina Lopez, Business of We. Amazing community. We're working together. I was at her event, inspiring her audience and helping her. Talking to Alexandria, how can I do more and work with Alexandria and others that have communities? This is how we can learn from the billion-dollar Googles, even though maybe we're only at 500,000, we're only at 2 million. We can still do more and learn how to leverage. Pausing a bit here, love the comments. Ayanna saying, I use Gemini almost every day to brainstorm content ideas. Yes, Gemini. I use ChatGPT. Some people use Copilot. Take your pick. The tools are out there, and if you're not leveraging and using them every day, you are missing out. Alexandria Nicole, love how she co-hosts with me here. Alexandria Nicole says this: I overcame imposter syndrome by writing down my purpose and reading it daily. This helps me focus and operate in my humble worthiness. It still sneaks up when I level up. However, we must stay grounded in clarity. I love this. And I'm going to read it also from the comments on Restream here. Focus on clarity because I can't read, the whole thing doesn't go. We must be grounded in clarity and gratitude. Woo, Alexandria, clarity and gratitude. Gratitude, the name of the game. And I get stuck. When I get stuck, I will keep this as a reminder, Alexandria. Matt McHale says this: amazing that SEO revenue has dropped because of AI, but they have done a great job to pivot. Yeah, they have, Matt. Isn't it amazing? Traditional SEO definitely is changing for sure. Has changed, is changing, will continue to change. But man, you're right. AI is like on fire, and Google is leveraging it. Microsoft is leveraging it. All these major big platforms. It's definitely happening. So pivoting to OpenAI, makers of ChatGPT, OpenAI sees a historic $1 trillion IPO valuation. OpenAI is preparing for a blockbuster initial public offering that could raise the AI developers' valuation to $1 trillion. This is powerful. This is powerful. The ChatGPT developer is reportedly aiming to file regulatory paperwork as early as next year. A flurry of recent activity underscores the urgency. OpenAI recently closed a major restructuring deal with LinkedIn's parent company, Microsoft, and received California Attorney General Rob Bonta's blessing to transition to a for-profit entity. Meanwhile, its AI partner, NVIDIA, just crossed $5 trillion in market value. Matt. And so what does this mean for your pivot? For your business? One, OpenAI pivoted from a nonprofit to a profit. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to change. Maybe you started out as a nonprofit. You wanted to do something and you're realizing that being a for-profit organization, maybe that's better for you. Who knows? Maybe you should be B Corp, all kind of ways, but it's okay to pivot. Second thing we can learn from this is the power of speed and urgency are important. Sometimes, as my friend Lolita Walker says, the power of the pause is important, but oftentimes, sometimes speed is important. And to OpenAI, yes, this $1 trillion valuation IPO expected company is, the lesson for us all is we can learn from them. And Matt McHale, I know you're joking, saying Copilot from Microsoft, no one uses that. But really, I don't know. I think people are using it. It appears to be, but I'm sure it has a smaller market share because in that area, Microsoft is just lagging behind. Their Edge browser, the AI, all that. But hey, they're in the game. They're still dominant in corporate America, of course. The bulk of their revenue, I guess, from services. And then, of course, Microsoft, what's their AI, their hosting platform? Azure, that's huge. But Microsoft is not out of the game. They're a huge, huge company. So whether it's Copilot, whether it's their legacy software, whether they're consulting services feeding their IT partners, that's a huge business, which is going to continue. But Microsoft is definitely not asleep at the wheel. What Satya Nadella is doing, I think, is pretty amazing. But I love your input on that, Matt, as well. And then we have Meta, owners of Facebook. Meta's AI spending forecast overshadows 26% revenue growth. Meta's warning of significantly faster AI related expense growth mode, shares tumble in after hours trading Wednesday, despite revenue growth of 26%. So they had a revenue growth of 26%, but they're saying we're going to have to spend more. The tech giant said it had a net income of 2.7 billion after a one-time income tax charge of 15.9 billion on sales, though, of 15.2 billion this past quarter, I believe it is. It's raised guidance, which now will come in the range of 70 billion to 72 billion for its capital expenditures. But that's not bad because it all depends on what are you spending money and how are you investing money and what return will you get on that money in the long term, not the short term. Lesson learned for all of us, for Matt, for Ayanna, and all of us here today, Alexandria, and all those here live and or on demand. What are we investing in? What are we putting our money into? What are we putting our time into? What will the return be for us? That is the question of the day. If we're getting a return for the money, doesn't have to be even immediate, it could be in the future, then that's okay. But we have to be willing to be able to pivot, be nimble, and know what we're doing. Changing gears here. GM cuts 1,700 jobs in third round of layoffs in under a week. Now, that's not good for the people being laid off, but this is the reality of business. General Motors laid off 1,700 workers in Michigan and Ohio just days after cutting 200 plus jobs at its tech campus near Detroit and more than 300 at a facility in Georgia. The automaker said weakening demand for electric vehicles drove the latest action, which impacted about 1,200 people at a Detroit EV plant and 550 at a battery cell plant. Here's the bottom line, people. We have to know our numbers. We have to know what we're doing. We have to understand where the market is going. And as Wayne Gretzky, I think it was, or some famous hockey players said to say, you don't, you should be at where the puck is going, not following the puck. Something like that. So job cuts are not cool. Whether it's government job cuts, the government is way too overbloated, or whether it's private company job cuts. These things are sadly a necessity. So what it means for us who are working, us who are employees, is that we have to make it happen. We have to make things done. Everybody, my name is Ramon Ray. This is the Rundown with Ramon. You got a question, got a comment, got a thought, got anything from me before we end this show on Thursday? Put it in the chat. Let me know. And here's what I'd like to know. Here's one thing I have a question for you today. Next week, if you're predicting that next week will be one of inspiration, can you do me a favor and put inspire in the comment right now? If next week will be one for you of inspire, put inspire in the comment right now. But, if next week is not going to be with inspiration and will only be a week for you that's going to be tough, put tough in the chat. Love to see what the comments are. Love to see what you're doing, but I'm glad you're here today. Had a great time with Claude Silver yesterday. Her brand new book is out. I want to share that on the screen, but I don't want to do things live. But you want to check out her book? I'll just share it here. Be Yourself at Work. I'm excited to go to a little get together with her and some other cool friends tonight. Be Yourself at Work from Claude Silver. Claude Silver is an amazing human, connected to amazing people, and doing some great things in the world. Love seeing this. Ayanna saying her week next week is going to be one of inspiration. Okay, Ayanna, I'll take that. I'll hold you to it. Kim is saying, yes, my week next week will be one of inspiration. I love it. Alexandra is saying, yes, my week next week is going to be one of inspiration. Yes, I love it. Matt McHale's talking about tech here. Love having you here, Matt. Talk about tech a little bit. So Matt's saying, yes, businesses are using Copilot. It'll be interesting what they will do with Edge moving forward. Well, I guess they're going to continue to make Edge integrating with AI stuff, right? 2026 will be the battle of the browsers, Atlas, Chrome, Comet, and Fellow, and et cetera. And I wonder, really, will it be a battle so much, Matt? Because Chrome is the dominating browser. I think we know that, right? Chrome, I think, is the dominating browser by Google, by far. And then there's Edge, which has a much smaller market share, and then tons of other types of browsers. Even Zoho has their own browser called Ula and others. So I don't know if it's going to be so much of a war or battle, or just will be people having choices. And some companies will be happy with the small market shares they have, which is going to be fine. Matt McHale summarizes this well. Inspired, new month, 2 months left in the year. Let's go. Everybody, my name is Ramon Ray. This is the Rundown with Ramon, reminding you to be safe, to be secure, from our friends at Bitdefender, bitdefender.com/Ramon, bitdefender.com/Ramon. Definitely check that out and do that. Thanks for being here. This is the brand new edition. I like this show. Minimal prep, minimal like stuff all, and sitting there for hours and hours. And well, I never do hours and hours thinking about it, but I think the show was well. I think it was. It's really up to you all. It seems to be well. And our traffic is growing. We have people who are watching the show live, but on demand afterwards is growing as well. So that's inspiring. Listen, thanks for being here. This is the Rundown with Ramon. Hey, be well, be blessed, have an amazing day, make an impact in the world. If I can help you in some way, email me, let me know, Ramon@RamonRay.com. Please don't add me to your spam. Don't add me to all that, because I'll just delete it. I'll block you so fast. But reach out, let me know how I can add value, comment, DM me, however you want. Thanks for being here on the Rundown with Ramon. And Kim Wyckoff, thank you. What a way to end. Great show. I appreciate you so much. Take care, be blessed, be inspired.